So yeah, Hellstones is it's like a gritty supernatural action series that explores the dynamics of like power and corruption and what it costs to do the right thing when the world is burning down around you. How much of your morality are you willing to sacrifice for the perceived greater good? I like to say the old adage, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions," is
Hmm.
kind of the theme that rings throughout the entire series.
Ho, ho, Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 463. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and I'm excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed illustrator and comic creator, Frank. Frank,
Hello, thanks for
how's it
having me.
going?
I'm
Yeah,
great.
this is exciting. We were just talking earlier. You're in the great state of Nebraska.
That's right. Yeah, right in
Yeah.
the middle of the country.
Yep. You know what? And also too, you are a die-hard colorist because we were just mentioning before. I always like to like kind of
Yeah.
change our the nameplate color a bit, and you even see behind you. So for our listeners, Frank has behind him the color wheel behind
Yeah.
there, and also too is that you can't your brand doesn't have a color. It's every color is basically the brand of I mean it's your studio is even called Pigma Pigmacast. So
That's
every
right.
Pigma is available.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. A nice conjunction of two words there. Pigma from pigment, which is color, and
Yeah,
cast, which is to cast color to whatever. So
right.
Pigmacast is just a made up conjunction that means to color.
Right. See, it's beautiful. Yeah, I mean it's amazing. And so you are a Renaissance man, Frank, in a way that you have created children's works, and you also
Mm-hmm.
have done some good adult themed the graphic novels and comics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I my first question to you then, Frank, is uh, if yourself from 10 years ago saw you today, what would you think of yourself?
How did you do it? How did you do it? uh, um, this whole path for me kind of started from like forcing myself into a state of self discovery. Because I've always been a creative person my entire life, but I always became this jack of all trades, master of none. And in 2019, I really sat down and was like, you're good at a lot of things, but you're not great at anything. And that's where that like self discovery process happened. And I really sat down and just tried to find out what my passion was and what I really liked and wanted to focus in on. And that was digital painting, color work, color theory, and that all just led to one project after another. I started off doing just commissions. I was painting, spray painting, traditional painting, and then I went digital, and that led to comic books, which led to me understanding the production side of things, which led me to do my children's book, and then eventually my comic book. So it all just kind of naturally came about. So 10 years ago, I'd been like, "What?" Looking at me now, how? What?
So Hellstones was your recent Kickstarter that you came out with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hellstone's book zero, so it's a prologue story. It's 12 pages rather than 24 plus, just because it's just an intro, just to warm somebody up to the idea and introduce the concept. I just kickstarted that. That just closed on August 1st. We ended up getting 178% funded, so that was
Wow.
fantastic. And I've had a lot of residuals since then, just from people reaching out to me. I actually haven't even put it for sale on my website yet, just because I wanted to one first make sure that everyone that backed got their copies first. And then, of course, I want to start hitting a couple of conventions, and then I'll make it available on my website. But it's been fantastic. The reception has been great.
And talk to us a little bit about Book Zero Echoes Across Eternity.
Yeah.
What's it all about?
So yeah, Hellstones is it's like a gritty supernatural action series that explores the dynamics of like power and corruption and what it costs to do the right thing when the world is burning down around you. How much of your morality are you willing to sacrifice for the perceived greater good? I like to say the old adage, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions," is
Hmm.
kind of the theme that rings throughout the entire series.
You always have a sense of hope about your work.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, I try to keep a sense of real
Hmm.
in it, and to me, I am a hopeful person. I am an optimist, but I'm also a realist.
Hmm.
You know, so while I can see the negative and I can see how things could go bad, I do try to remain optimistic and hopeful, and that part of me comes through in almost everything I do.
Right. And so it's this Hellstones, this is says Book Zero, but this is supposed to be a 12 issue series, correct?
It's going to be, yeah, absolutely. 12, maybe even actually 13, because I think in doing my recent storyboarding, because I wrote the entire series, it's already written. But now I'm in the storyboarding phase, and as I was going through my storyboarding, I found a couple of leaks that I want to plug, and I think the best way to do that is to maybe do an extra book.
Hmm.
So it's probably going to end up being 13.
And what's beneficial about your Kickstarter that you came out with is like you were the writer,
Mhm.
artist, colorist, and everything for the book, correct?
Everything except the line artist.
Okay.
Um, I can illustrate, I can draw, but I lean towards the more cartoony stuff.
Right.
And I really wanted to bring like a good quality product, so I hired someone that was better than myself for that. There's always this perception of independent doesn't mean professional for some reason, and I definitely want to smash that barrier. I think you can be just as professional, if not more professional, than a lot of people or companies. It's just how much are you willing to put into it?
Right. Now, and so talk to us a little bit about the world building aspects of it, of
Yeah.
Hellstones.
So I've loved storytelling. I'm a forever DM when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. I've been playing that since I was a teenager. So when it came to world building and character creation, that part kind of came natural to me.
Hmm.
I was working a desk job back in 2015, and as just an exercise to kill some time, I was like, I'm just going to write a little short page, little one page concept on something. Just wasn't sure what to do. Just needed to pass time, and that's when I came up with Hellstones originally, the original concept. I first started with the main character. I was like, okay, so who's going to be the protagonist? Who's going to be the antagonist? And I was like, I see enough of the superhero stuff. We see enough of the spandex and the capes and the busty women. I do want a strong female lead, but I want her to feel grounded and real, like in every girl. Just a tomboy, a little scruffy, rough around the edges, and that's where I came up with Sam, the main character. And I have my own thoughts on religion and corporate greed, and those quickly became the quote unquote villains of the story. So it's and then from there it all just kind of started piecing itself together from there. Once I knew those main pieces, then it was like, okay, well, what are they fighting over? Why are they fighting over them? And so on. And I wanted to come up with something that I'd never heard before. And that's where the Hellstones came into play. I was like, I want something that's been around maybe forever,
Hmm.
something that's secret, clandestine, and maybe that's why certain people or entities rise to power and fall throughout time is because these clandestine stones have just always been around, and maybe this girl Sam is kind of caught up in the middle of this stuff. And that's the world that I created for Hellstones.
And so, we're looking at for our listeners here, we're on the Kickstarter page here, and it's easy to find. All you'd have to do is, and we'll put a link in the show notes for everybody. The Hellstones / Echoes Across Eternity Book 0 is a landing page for it, and we're looking at 7 stones that are part of the Hellstones. Now, how have you been able to differentiate this from, as of our pop culture now in 2025, the most famous stones, which are from like the MCUs? How have you been able to differentiate your stones from, say, the Infinity Stones?
Well, the Infinity Stones weren't even on my mind. so I maybe there's some crossover in some places, maybe there's not. I don't think so, really. But it honestly wasn't on my mind at all when I was writing it. Though I will say, as far as the creation of the stones and the mythos and the lore behind the stones, is nothing like the Infinity Stones. These are angelic artifacts. They came about, but throwing way back to when Lucifer was cast out of heaven. His wings were clipped, and his wings fell through space and time, and eventually rotted, decayed, and fossilized and landed on Earth. And those fossilized fragments of his wings are the Hellstones. And each stone is representative of a quote-unquote angelic power that Lucifer himself may have had.
Huh. And so what are the 7 stones? What are their powers?
I'll hit a couple off the top of my head here. So, like the green stone that Sam has, Sam, our main character, hers is like a physical insight and aptitude. So she's just physically more capable in every way. She's maybe not super strong. It's more kind of like an agility thing. She's very nimble. Maybe sees a punch coming before it happens. Just very strong physical intuition. So that's her stone. There's the white stone. The white stone bestows wings upon the user. Just angelic, bright, glowing white wings, which have the ability to emit a holy light, a blinding holy light. There's the red stone bestows strength. That's the strength stone. That's the one that lets you lift boulders. There's what I called early on dream manipulation, but it's more of like a subconscious manipulation. Because again, these all harken back to Lucifer, to Satan. And of course, he's the father of lies. So the manipulation factor has to be there. So the person holding that stone is able to mess with people's minds, maybe through illusionary means or verbal command or something like that. And there's other stones as well.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. Thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. What was the hardest part about getting this story written out?
For me, the hardest part, I would say, was the storyboarding aspect. The creative writing is just always something that's fun for me. I'd never written anything that was hundreds of pages long, but it wasn't hard, especially, having ADHD. I was able to hyper-focus and really write it out actually pretty quick, because I would just lock myself in my studio here and just go to town. And I just wrote the entire thing. And then, of course, you have iterations and stuff like that, different drafts. But for me, the storyboarding and thinking of panel layout and how many pages there are and how to break this story up into chunks that make sense, or maybe have some sort of cliffhanger moment at the end of a book to keep interest in for the next book. That for me was the hardest part. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
How many issues are you planning on releasing per year?
I'm hoping to get 2 a year done,
Okay.
which is pretty ambitious for a mostly solo operation. But I already have, like I said, I already have the story written out, and I have actually the first draft of every storyboard done as well. So I'm at that point to where all of the funding from book one went to recoup the costs that I had already put in, and anything beyond that rolled straight into hiring the artist for book one.
Okay.
So it really, I just have to do a final storyboard iteration and then hand it off to the artist, and we're off to the races. So hopefully I'm set up for success of being able to just churn it out.
Right. Because as you mentioned, if it's 2 a year, you'll be done in 2031.
Right. Right. Yeah. Good thing I'm not 44 years old, you know. Yeah.
And so how important, so it was I remember Jack Kirby mentioned, in one of his interviews, is that he said he always has a piece of himself in his characters. What piece of Frank is in Hellstones?
All of me is in Hellstones, whether it's in the main character or maybe in a villain. We all have those pieces in us. And when it comes to Sam's, I would say her morality and questioning her morality and wanting to do good, but tripping up along the way and maybe doing more harm than good in the name of doing something good. We've all felt that. We've all been there. And I would say that's definitely part of me is definitely in that for sure. And then when it comes to some of the villains of the story, I really try to take an opportunity to humanize them as well. And it's not that someone is necessarily just born evil. A lot of the time, it's just a matter of perspective that makes somebody evil or seen evil. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that I may have said something to that came off the wrong way or something like that. So I just try to make it all relatable and really just kind of threw all of me in it in one way or another.
What have you learned doing this Kickstarter that you're going to be able to utilize for your next Kickstarter?
That's a good question. It's when it comes to Kickstarters and crowdfunding and marketing, it's all about the little things. It's not the big things that you think would matter. Like getting the comic book done and stuff like that. Like those are all hard tasks in them of themselves, but it's the little things that you don't think of. Like having a social media presence, trying to put together some sort of press tour and giving yourself enough time to reach out to those people, 6 months or plus, because a lot of people are booking things up so far out. And for myself, I only left myself like a 2-month lead in to build some sort of press tour. And I got very lucky being part of the indie community that I was able to put together like 13 or 14 different interviews over the course of that time. But I mean, had I given myself proper timing, 6 or 8 months to book things out, it could have been huge. I could have spread way more information about it.
Right.
That and like I said early on, professionalism and quality of work. Like with I don't know if you've had the opportunity to watch the trailer for Hellstones, but I'm particularly proud of that, and continuing to hold myself to that high standard. I think those are the big things that I learned for sure.
As you were putting the story and the script together, did any of your main characters, like Sam, go in a direction that you weren't planning and you're like, well, I guess this is where the comic's going?
Yeah, a little bit. I had a pretty good idea because once I had the one pager written, I then kind of wrote the end. And then I started going, how do I make everything from the beginning reach the end? So some people, some characters or plot lines did kind of veer off, but I had to find a way to bring them back because I already knew what that end goal was going to be. And I think that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I think that really stems from, like I said, just years of playing Dungeons and Dragons and being a dungeon master, because that's kind of what you're doing the whole time is, herding cats. And it's going, I want to tell you that you need to go to the cave, but I can't tell you to go to the cave. So you're going to wander around for a bit, and then I'm going to force a turn on you somewhere that'll get you back there. So yeah, there's a little bit of that, but knowing what that end goal is supposed to be kind of helps you navigate back to it.
What would be your pitch then for our listeners and our viewers out there to the reason to pick up Hellstones and start reading it?
Yeah, it's something different. It's not a superhero comic. It's not capes and spandex. It's a story about power and sacrifice and what it costs to fight back when the system's broken. And if that hits home for you, check it out.
And you also said, and if people want to learn more about you and your work, they could go to, as we say, Pigmacast.com.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Well, listen, Frank, you have to come back on when you got your next Kickstarter coming out.
Absolutely. I will let you know. I'd be happy to.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much, Frank. I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah. Thanks, Barney. I appreciate it.